This is Minami Honmoku Pier in Naka Ward, City of Yokohama. Here, you'll find Yokohama's only final waste disposal site. Combustible waste is incinerated at high temperatures at incineration plants. The resulting ash is disposed of here at this site. About 100,000 cubic meters of this ash is disposed of here every year. That's about the volume of 280 of the 25-meter swimming pools found in a typical primary school. Naturally, when this disposal site is filled up, the city will have to look for another disposal site. All of us in the community need to do our part to make this site last as long as possible. In the 1960s, Japan's burgeoning population and rapid economic growth caused waste volumes to grow exponentially. The problem of waste became a serious social issue. In the 1970s and 80s, the construction of incineration plants proceeded apace. Soon, the city was able to incinerate all of its waste. Why do we incinerate our waste? There are two major reasons. The first is hygiene. Incinerating the waste eliminates odor and disease. The second is to keep disposal sites available for use as long as possible. Incineration reduces the solid waste volume by a factor of 40. By incinerating the waste and reducing its volume, we can extend the working life of the disposal site. Currently, there are 4 incineration plants in operation in Yokohama. The oldest of these is Tsuzuki Plant in the north of the city. Next, near the ocean in the northeast of the city, lies Tsudumi Plant. Inland in the west is Asahi Plant. Finally, Kanazawa Plant lies in the southern part of the city. It's the newest incineration plant in Yokohama. Now, how do you suppose the waste taken out by families across Yokohama is brought to these incineration plants? Here we see a schematic view of Yokohama's waste collection network. Combustible waste collected from areas near the incineration plant is transported directly to each plant. Combustible waste from areas remote from the incineration plant is temporarily kept at one of the 4 transfer stations in the city. Here, waste is being reloaded into a large truck for efficient transport to the incineration plant. This is a bird's-eye view of the entire incineration plant. The plant can be broadly divided into 5 blocks. The waste pit, where the collected waste is stored. The incinerator, where the waste is burned into ash and exhaust gas. The ash pit, which stores the burnt ash. The exhaust gas treatment facility, where hazardous substances are removed. And the smokestack, which emits the exhaust gas into the outside air. A collection truck has arrived at the incineration plant, loaded with combustible waste collected from households. The truck dumps the waste into the waste pit for initial storage. Load after load of waste is deposited in the enormous waste pit. The space in this pit is huge. It can easily swallow an entire 10-story apartment block. This is a waste crane used to pick up the waste. Set next to a person, you can see how enormous the crane is. The crane is controlled from this operation room. A qualified operator runs the huge crane, moving it freely around the waste pit as needed. It's a job that requires plenty of experience and skill. When the crane picks up a load of waste, the weight is displayed. The waste picked up this time weighs over 5 metric tons. The crane picks up the waste and then releases it. In this process, called agitation, the waste is thoroughly mixed to make it uniform. The waste contains both wet garbage, such as kitchen waste, which is difficult to burn, and dry trash such as paper, which burns easily. This waste is agitated into a uniform state and suffused with air, making it easy to burn. Using the waste crane, the waste is deposited from the waste pit into the incinerator. The waste crane dumps the waste onto a feed hopper connected to the incinerator. When the crane reaches the center of the feed hopper, the lamp on the left lights up. When the height of the crane matches that of the hopper, the lamp on the right lights up. When the depth is correctly aligned, the lamp in the middle lights up. Only when all 3 of these lamps are lit is the waste fed into the feed hopper. This is the incinerator connected to the feed hopper. The waste fed into the incinerator here is burned at temperatures ranging from 850 to 950 degrees Celsius. After incineration, the waste is reduced to ash, just 1/40th of its original volume, plus exhaust gas. The central control room monitors the incineration plant 24 hours a day, every day. Although it's not widely known, the incineration plant never stops working. The incinerator never stops being fed with the waste that is its fuel. Controlled by both automatic operation and human manipulation, the crane works continuously, never pausing, even at night. The ash released from the incinerator is carried on an ash conveyor to the ash pit where it is stored. Here, the ash is picked up by the ash crane. This crane loads the ash onto trucks, which carry it away. The ash loaded here is carried to the disposal site, which we introduced at the beginning. Meanwhile, the exhaust gas generated by incinerating the waste is scrubbed of hazardous substances at the exhaust gas treatment facility. This equipment is called a bag filter. The inside of the equipment is packed with cylindrical cloth filters. The exhaust gas is passed through this filter to remove the hazardous substances. Many people in the community are concerned that hazardous substances may be generated by the incineration of waste. To respond to these concerns, the city publishes the results of testing of the treated exhaust gas. The city of Yokohama manages the exhaust gas rigorously, using stricter numerical criteria than are required by law. After it is treated in this way, the exhaust gas is released into the air from the smokestack. These are the heights of the smokestacks at each of the incineration plants. The shortest of these smokestacks is the one at Asahi plant at 100 meters. It is about the same height as Marine Tower, symbol of the Port of Yokohama. The incineration plants do more than just incinerate waste. The heat generated from the incinerating waste is used to make steam. The steam is sent to nearby waste heat utilization facilities, such as heated swimming pools, where it serves as a heat source. The steam is also put to use generating electricity. The electricity so generated is first used in the plant and nearby public use facilities, and the remaining power is sold back to the electrical utility, which uses it to serve households in the community. When incinerating waste, it is vitally important to burn it at very high temperatures. If the incineration temperature is lowered, less power is generated. The biggest factor causing incineration heat to decrease is moisture in the waste that serves as the fuel. This is why we earnestly request that residents eliminate moisture from kitchen waste as much as possible. In fact, moisture comprises roughly 80% of kitchen waste by weight. Before putting out your kitchen waste, please strain the water out of it as much as possible. This simple act goes a long way to preventing rotting and foul odors, making waste lighter and thus easier to carry, and improving electrical power output. Another type of waste that holds a lot of moisture is trimmed branches and cut grass. Simply leaving these items in an open plastic bag in your garden to dry for 2 days can reduce their weight by some 40%. This simple trick increases power output. The incineration plants also receive waste put out by local businesses, such as restaurants and shops. Here, we're going to check whether recyclables or items that shouldn't be received as combustible waste are included. Processing waste correctly at incineration plants requires the cooperation of all residents and business owners in the community. So now we have a request for all of you. These are the contents of combustible waste thrown out by households. Over 30% of it consists of kitchen waste. Of that kitchen waste, did you know that roughly 10% is untouched food, which has been thrown out without ever being used? This food was discovered in discarded kitchen waste. It was thrown out unused. Meat bought on sale but never used. Junk food, fruit and vegetables. That's a waste, isn't it? Buying too much food and forgetting about food in storage are the main causes of untouched food waste. Also, as you can see by this graph, plenty of recyclables that should be separated are included as combustible waste. With just a little extra time and effort, we can all reduce the volume of combustible waste. And that will enable us to use disposal site for a long time. This graph shows the trend in waste volume in Yokohama from 1955 onward. You can see that waste volume climbed steadily until 2000. Fortunately, residents, businesses, and the public sector joined hands and made a special effort to reduce waste volumes by collecting recyclables separated from combustible waste. As a result, waste volumes declined steadily from 2001 onward, despite a continuing increase in population. Thanks to this effort, the city of Yokohama was able to scrap 2 of its 7 incineration plants and suspend operations at 1 more plant. Because the volume of incineration ash usable in disposal site shrank dramatically, the city was able to extend the working life of its disposal site significantly, defying predictions that space would soon run out. If each resident and business owner makes just a small effort to separate waste correctly and throw out less waste, we can make a real difference in reducing waste volumes. Yokohama is currently executing a plan called the Yokohama 3R Dream Plan. 3R stands for reduce, reducing waste volumes; reuse, using items repeatedly instead of discarding them; and recycle, turning recyclables into new products. These three capital letters form the basis of this plan. The three R's are important for all of us. The city of Yokohama is working with residents and business owners to move this 3R initiative forward, to bequeath a rich and beautiful environment to future generations. By working together in this way, we can all make Yokohama a city where children can have big dreams for the future.